Good morning. It's take two.
Good morning again. Oh, technology.
I there
Launching.
is no echo this time. And what's crazy is like there is nothing different. And this has happened other times on the show as well. It's like nothing was set up differently than the previous time, and so there should have been no echo. And now I did nothing different with the settings either. We're just in here, and there is no echo. And thank God.
Yeah. And I'd love to take responsibility and say, gosh, I wish I had a newer computer or I wish my technology was better. But no, I have like thousands of dollars worth of equipment, lighting, Wi Fi, all the things, everything as it should be. Our subscriptions are to the best platforms doing the best things. So don't blame us, guys. It's just the ghost in the machine. That's all. Maybe it's time that the robots are finally taking over. Who knows? They decided
I
to
was
start
gonna say,
living.
to me, this is actual proof that they can't take over because, like,
We'll
there we
just
were
reboot.
in the middle of this technology issue, and it didn't fix itself. Like we had to handle. So
Well, I
anyway,
know I'd love to just go back and repeat a little bit of what we said in case that other episode just, falls off the face
oh,
of the earth. So
it's gonna get deleted for sure.
so we were
It will
talking
get
you were
deleted.
talking about Sweat Lodge. Talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, no, what I'd said was, um, I was really tired this weekend, and set up the fire. I had help from Danny, one of our community members, came early and helped with the heavy lifting. Nice young man, hauled some logs for me, which was great. But it is a lot of work to set up, and I had a long day the previous day, and so I wasn't sure if I was going to go in or not. And um, but then it was actually mostly women that showed up. Um, and it was a small group. So I knew there was going to be space for me to lie down. And I'm like, I did all this work to set up the fire and everything. I need to get the benefits of the healing and the prayer inside the sweat lodge. So I crawled in there, I laid down, and then my third door, I was like, oh, I think I need to get out of here. But then the thought of like actually getting up and crawling out of there sounded like more work than just laying there. So I just stayed sprawled out on the ground in there for the fourth door. And I'm glad I did, but it was definitely challenging to be in there yesterday. But it was a beautiful prayer. I do feel like it was good for my soul. On some level, it was good for my body too, very detoxifying. And so I'm glad I did it. And it's also one of those, like knowing that my body is still pushable, even though it's not 30 years old anymore. I can still push the limits sometimes.
Well, and now that you've been doing this for such a long time, so regularly, right? Because it's literally in your backyard. What do you think your biggest takeaway has been?
Ooh.
Physically, mentally, spiritually, however you want to answer.
So, like, I mean, for me, the the simple huge thing is how it has shifted my relationship with the heat. Because I've been living in South Florida since 1994. This Wisconsin girl has been hating the heat for all of those years, and it's finally, and I've done hot yoga too, and like you'd think hot yoga would shift my relationship with the heat, and it did not. Um, but now with the sweat lodge, I'm like, everyone's out. It's so hot. It's so hot. I'm like, what are you talking about? Uh, they're trying to tell me it's the hottest summer on record. I'm pretty sure it's like the coolest summer on record. Um, but that's a whole different topic. So on that level, it's been wonderful to realize, because I just thought like I would never be okay with hot weather, and I totally am now. So that in itself was an amazing gift from the sweat lodge. But what's interesting to me is going in there, like it's it's almost like going into another dimension. In it's considered like the sweat lodge is the womb, and so you go into the womb and you come out reborn each time. And but what has amazed me, like the the downloads that I have received in there, and I don't think I was expecting that to happen. And I think the one that was like strongest for me was actually the first time it happened. I was in there actually having a crisis with the heat, and I was like hyperventilating. And my friend Sarah sitting next to me, she's like, slow your breathing, slow your breathing. And I'm going in my, because I couldn't talk, like in my head, I'm like, you don't think I'm trying to slow my breathing? Like I just was not capable of doing it. And I just like dug my hands into the dirt and just started having this download of the four elements and my relationship with them and their relationship with each other, and an understanding of how to work with them on a different level than what I could get from all of the studying that I've done about the elements. It was like pure experiential work with the four elements. So yeah.
I love that. I love how action and life actual experience is kind of like the big win after, like you said, reading all of the books and doing all the things. There's only so much life that we can experience through reading and videos and movies and things like that. And you could lead a whole life like that. I mean, for sure. Like there's been writers that write about things that they've never seen before, but they've experienced through books and things like that. And I love that. But having that firsthand experience, like, wow, how incredibly powerful. And I love that it was literally with just heat and prayer, and it's not a psychedelic experience. It's not something that you need to ingest. It's not something that, you know, you have to worry about, right? Um, there are so many different ways of connecting, and I think this is such a beautiful, pure way of connecting. So very cool. All that said, I
Absolutely.
still haven't had a sweat lodge experience myself. The timing has never worked out for when I go down there. Um, but I have had some real nice sauna experiences that have just been really exciting. So if there's one thing I'd love on my property, it's a sauna, but that's a story for another day. Another day and another 10 grand, but easy.
Yeah.
So this weekend, my family and I went apple picking. Had not done that before. But I'm looking forward to the pumpkin stuff. Haven't gotten to that yet. I read this morning on Facebook, someone said about the parking lot pumpkin patch, that we have in South Florida all over the place. But around here, there's so many farms and so many fields that you can actually go and see all of these things. So this beautiful farm, the Folk Collaborative, it's in Tennessee. So it's like 30 minutes from my house, I think. And we got to walk through the whole orchard and see all the different trees. It was cool. I don't think I've ever actually seen an apple tree, like a real apple tree.
Oh
I've
wow.
seen plenty of fruit trees. I mean, I grew up with fruit trees, but no apples. So that was cool to actually go and pick the apple off the tree. And we got ourselves half a peck. It sounds like such an old-timey word, a
Yeah.
peck, a
Have a peck
bushel,
of
all these
apples.
things. Yeah. So it was really cool, and not for anything, but like shameless plug for that place, the Folk Collaborative. It is so cool. They have the most delicious seasonal food. Like everything they serve isn't it like it's not the same menu all year round. It changes depending on the seasons. And I also bought some like organic, they call it Warshin powders. So like washing, but with the Appalachian
Washing.
accent,
Yeah.
Warshin. And some nice organic fabric softener and things like that. As a matter of fact, I even got some copal resin. So I got some little guys in there. Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, it was a good weekend. I'm glad for it. Weather's
Sounds like
changed for sure.
a fun adventure. And, growing up in Wisconsin, going to the apple orchard, having a hayride, like all of those things were just a normal part of growing up. And both my dad and my brother and sister-in-law, they have tons of apple trees, pear, and all kinds of other stuff I don't even know. But I'm excited. I'm hopefully going up there the end of this month, and so I can go pick my own apples.
Very cool. Can you make anything with apples, or are you just an apple snacker?
Not like apple pie, applesauce, apple. I've never done like the jams or delis or anything like that. My grandma can, my sister-in-law can. She's got quite the production going on there. Like she takes her stuff to the farmers market and everything. But yeah, like we grew up doing a lot of stuff with apples. My grandma had an apple tree at her house that produced these like tiny, like really tart apples. So you really didn't want to just eat them off the tree. They were really too tart, but they made great applesauce.
Yeah,
So
see, we did stuff like that, but with mangoes, like mango juice, sliced mangoes right off the tree, like mango
yeah,
chutney, same thing, but more Caribbean.
yes, yes, absolutely. Mm,
So what do we have on
cheers.
deck for today?
Today, our topic is how do you support others while maintaining your own boundaries? And I love this topic because I think it's coming up a lot these days. Like everybody is just so overbooked with everything. And, we've all been programmed um, to show up for everybody else and to do all of the things. And, what happens when doing all the things just wears you out and you're done? Like, then you're useless for anyone. So, um, and I will say, I'm on this be impeccable with your word journey. Um, and I'm feeling a little resistance to the word boundaries. And I haven't figured out like another way of expressing it that feels more in alignment, that feels more in flow, because boundaries sound like work. And here, like you're trying to take work off your plate, but then you're making more work by creating boundaries. Um, so I don't know if, you as the English major have um, any ideas on other words, and you don't have to come up with it right now, but I'm just throwing that out there to you since you are the queen of language over there, that maybe you have other thoughts on something that will serve that seems like less work. You know?
I think the first thing that came to mind when I read it was more like, how do you support others while maintaining your own mental health or your own safety or your own joy, right? How do you not spend the whole day like a crisis hotline is kind of that's how I kind of read it. Because even folks that work crisis hotlines, they clock out and they walk away. Um, so for me, the way I read this question, and the way I try and maintain my own mental health is like to your point, to take care of my boundaries, my spiritual health, right? Like my boundaries with myself, not boundaries with others. Like, okay, you can only call me once a week. Like that's not what that means to me. It's more like I have done my meditation. I have done taking care of my body. I have done, I'm in a good place. If I'm in a good place, then I can hold space for you. Right. But if I'm not in a good place, then I can't help, right? It's like the drowning thing. Like you have to stop drowning and get on land, and then you can help other people that are drowning, but you can't be drowning and helping the drowning person next to you. That doesn't work either. You can hang out with them, you can be in the same spot as them, and sometimes that's just as comforting, to have two anxious people together or two sad people together, or call your buddy and be like, I feel like crap today. And they're like, me too. And okay, let's just, eat Cheetos.
Let's feel like crap
Fine.
together.
It's true. And there's something comforting about that, to know that you're not alone. Um, and also, I mean, we've had situations even in our retreats where I'm doing one thing and more than one person needs assistance. And I've gone out to get you and I've said, hey, I need you to go and support this person because I'm supporting this person and I can't support that person. So it's really like management, you know what I mean? It's like, I want to help everybody, but I can't physically. So who else in my circle? So I think that's a good second layer. Number one is take care of yourself. Number two is who's on your team, right? If you're not available to help, who can you call? Who can you say, hey, I need you to go over to my friend's house. I need you to show up for them. And I know like within our friend circle, we have a lot of that, right? Like if someone's having a mommy crisis and I can't be there because I'm in the middle of something else, work or some project or on a mountain or whatever, hey, so-and-so's having a crisis. Can you go help them? Right. And so having that team, that those folks around you that you can trust and you can count on, that I think is really helpful too.
Yeah, that's why community is so important, and we work so hard on building that. And I've just been getting so much joy out of watching the community build and watching the community step up and support each other. And um, the modern society has tried to take community away from us, and the pandemic for sure, let's separate everybody and let's make everybody scared of each other. And we together have to remind ourselves that community is humans' natural state, and that when we share the load, it's all much easier, so much easier. When you were speaking to, and you've shared this many times in our group events, um, how you set up boundaries, and it isn't so much what, and you're going to say it better because you are the language queen over there, but um, it's not what you don't want others to do, but where your boundaries are and what you don't allow in your life. Can
It's
you say?
it's it's action that you're gonna take, not action that you don't want someone else to take. So, um, you calling me at 5 o'clock in the morning every day, let's just pretend, right? I can't force you to stop calling me at 5 a.m., but I can certainly stop picking up the phone, right? So my boundary is if your XYZ behavior continues, then I will XYZ, not I will force you to XYZ, right? So you can never make anyone else do anything. The question is, how much of whatever that thing is will you allow in your life? I always talk about our friend Tiffany, who's a entrepreneur like us, and she has the tightest time boundaries I have ever seen on any human being. And I'm so like jealous that she's able to do that in that way. So you call her after 5 o'clock, it goes to voicemail. You send her an email at 7 p.m., you will get a reply in the morning, right? And she is so good at saying, this is my boundary, right? These are my working hours. You can text me and call me and leave me all the messages, and absolutely, and I will absolutely get back to you. And she does. Like, she's one of the most responsive people I know. And also, she respects her downtime. She respects her dinner time, her family time. Like, I think that is so incredible. And I will tell you, one of the things that I've done recently, I felt a little bit like a jerk because now I'm one of these people that has two cell phones, one for work and one for home. But honestly, being able to take this phone, my work phone, and set it to the side at a certain hour, I feel so much lighter because if it's on me, I want to check it. And if I'm checking it and someone has a simple question, I want to answer it. Of course I do. It's my nature. So now that my phone is away and I literally don't see it until working hours the next day, there's just a level of calm that I never expected. So shout out and kudos to Tiffany for teaching me that one. I got it.
Yeah, they're all, everything is a journey, a work in progress. We don't perfect any of these skills in one moment. And you try some skills on and see if they work for you, and maybe they do. And if they don't, then try something else, because what is an important boundary for you may not be an important boundary for me. And that gets into the whole shoulding. Like, there's no shoulds here. Whatever feels good for you is what you should do, not what someone else says. Oh, this is how you have to create your boundaries, and this is an important boundary to have. Maybe it is for you, maybe it's not. um how And I'm sure this is absolutely shifting for you as your children, they're almost adults now, but yeah, setting boundaries as a parent, how does that show up for you?
Hmm. That's a really great question. Um, Boundaries with children. It is tough, tough, tough because, I was telling some mommy friends of mine recently, kids by their nature are egocentric. Like their whole world is them. And even as babies, as a mom, they believe that your body is a physical extension of their body. That's how close they are to you. And the process of separating parents from children, right? Like that independence, it's like a bungee cord. Like that's how I experience it with my children. So they're very much like, I want to be independent and do my own thing and have my own thing. And then but sometimes it's like, bounce back, mom, I want to cuddle on the couch, or I need a hug, or come hang out with me. Or I'm very lucky I don't have those teenagers that like hate their parents. Like we're not like that. Everybody's happy, and we're very chill in our house. We laugh a lot. But I would say the biggest boundary that comes for me with my kids is just like my ability to focus. Like, okay, mom's working, I need to do this right now. And honestly, at 16, it's easy. They're happy to go into their rooms and just spend time, listening to music or whatnot. When they were much younger, it took a much stronger boundary, which that meant like closing the door and finding something else for them to do and saying, it's a Saturday, I have to work for 3 hours. You have to entertain yourselves, little things like that. You try and bring them into the process and tell them why it's important. But depending on their age, they can only comprehend so much. I'm very lucky that at 16 now they fully understand. If we leave mommy alone, she will make money. If we make money, we can have nicer things. We can go on bigger vacations. So now they're like, "Go ahead, mom. Go ahead. Work. No problem. We'll leave you alone." But other than that, I mean, I guess the only other boundary from when they were little is the bathroom. I do have one rule, which is do not talk to me if I'm in the bathroom. I never thought I would have to make that rule, but as soon as I had children, I realized that they're constantly knocking and talking and yelling through the door, and they would even stick their little fingers under the door like this. And so it's like a cat. So,
I was gonna say,
so
like the cat.
yes, one of my hard and fast boundaries is that if I'm in the bathroom and the door's always shut if I'm in the bathroom, but do not talk to me. Don't talk to me through the door. Nothing. Even if the house is on fire, just leave me be. That's it.
I laugh because when I go to the bathroom, my cat follows me straight in, because one of his great joys, on this planet, is drinking water that's coming out of the fountain. So I'll sit down on the toilet and turn the water on to a little drip, and he's just so happy there drinking the water. But if I'm home alone and Trent is not here, but Coco's here, Coco thinks she has to come into the bathroom then too. And Coco and Merlin don't like each other. So here I am in this closed space with two animals that don't like each other. And I'm like, can't you all just leave me in peace in the bathroom? But if I close the door, then they're out there scratching on the door and whatever. So,
Yeah, that is
um,
literally exactly what it's like to have children. Exactly the same. No
the
different.
other thing I do want to talk about though is I think it's really common, especially, in modern times here now for women to talk about setting boundaries. But if those of you read my email this morning, I was talking about self-care in for men, because I don't think it's as common of a topic. And this whole concept of setting boundaries, I think, is not something that men talk about as much. And they're really programmed to just, push through, be tough, and just do whatever it takes to get through. And it's not healthy for them either. Like, men get to create boundaries too, and to take care of themselves, because they are often in the role of the provider, the protector, and for them to be able to do it, the same rule applies. Like, the oxygen mask comes down, you got to put it on yourself first before you take care of others. Otherwise, you're not going to be there to take care of them. And so, to any of the men that are listening out there, I want you to check in and make sure that you are maintaining the boundaries that are important for your well-being, because we need you to be well too. And it's time that um that men get to learn that it's okay to take care of themselves. It's okay for their needs to be met, that they don't always have to put everybody else in front of them.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm so glad that we're living in an age where finally therapy is becoming a much more accessible and easier thing to get to, less stigmatized than in the past. And if you still can't wrap your brain around, I'm going to go to therapy, then a community event like the stuff we put on, retreats, those even just like a running group. I always tell the story how I joined a running group right as I was getting divorced back when I was 29. And that group was my therapy, not just the physical aspect of running marathons, but the camaraderie and being able to chat with other people and what they were going through and blah, 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 blah. Just honestly being with other human beings is therapeutic. When you get in those situations, keep an open mind, right? See what you can learn from others. Don't just keep repeating your pattern. But all of these things are therapeutic. Guided forest therapy is therapeutic. A yoga class is therapeutic, right? All of these things. But being in that community and being able to talk through, and not only that, but just learning from others. That's, to me, that's a really big thing. I always tell the story about how I saw a friend of mine say that when something happens to her, she feels neutral about it. And I was like, neutral? Is neutral an option? I didn't know that was an option. I just thought I had to be, either happy, upset, angry, some sort of emotion. I didn't know neutral was an option. That's never been taught to me. So yeah, so there's a lot that you can learn just from being with other people. I, of course, think everybody should be in therapy. I think everybody needs to talk to somebody and get some fresh perspective. As a matter of fact, at my kids' school, they actually have a counseling and mental health tract where like my daughter just started that. She's taking the first class, and then I think there's like 2 or 3 more after that. And I'm like, this is exactly what we need. We need in high school to start teaching boys and girls both how to regulate their emotions, how to understand where other people are coming from, how not to have such a rigid view of the world and themselves and things like that. So I'm super excited about where we're going, men and women both. Yeah, for sure.
And the other thing I wanted to mention too is, we're talking about setting our own boundaries, but I think it's also, a huge gift that we can give to others is when they set boundaries, to honor them. And, sometimes when we want something from someone, it's really easy to get judgmental, get whiny, whatever, try and guilt them into doing whatever it is we want them to do. And, um, I think it's really important, in part of us learning to set our own boundaries is also respecting other people's boundaries when they set them. And I think that's a beautiful gift, that you can allow someone to have their boundaries with grace, and um, do unto others as you would like them to do unto you.
I mean, I was going to say live and let live, that everybody shows up in the world differently. Everybody has different beliefs and preferences and all kinds of things. I mean, how simple would it just be if we just let everybody be themselves all the way, fully authentic in their full selves? Yeah,
Yes.
beautiful. I
Woo!
love it.
All right. This has been well because this was take two. It isn't that long of a show, but we've been talking for a long time now. Do you have anything else to add before we close the show today?
No, I'm very excited for this new season coming up, all the new things we have launching. Stay tuned, pay attention, follow us on all our social media. There's always something new and exciting, coming up.
Yes, indeed. All right. I'm going to wish everybody a magical